So I think the biggest problem is a misunderstanding of what eating healthy is, and a misunderstanding of how you can be the most productive in the gym in a short amount of time. Now, 45 minutes is enough to have a fantastic workout and hit maybe 2 body parts if you do it correctly. Everything is volume and intensity, but people think it's about sets, reps, how many exercises. None of it matters. Everybody, a 70-year-old man or a 20-year-old boy, needs to train with intensity and volume.
Most of the people that are in good shape physically, aesthetically, a lot of them have niggling, ongoing injuries that they just train through.
Injuries come through simple things like that, not mobilizing the body, thinking that we just get on the bench and we're going to use the 20-kilo barbell to have one set of 12 reps and we're warm. You're not. The synovial fluids need to raise in temperature. Your body needs to raise in temperature in the right way. For me, it's about transformation, mind, body, soul, and having that strength and flexibility. Don't listen to too many people, Do what you feels good for you, but try to give self-love. It's about loving yourself more. Happiness and health is most important. The richest people in the world, when they get sick, they'll give away every penny to be healthy again, right? And so if we focus more on happiness and health, I think the wealth will naturally come if we do things that we like with a passion.
Okay, so we're here. We made it, finally. Mr. Kirk Douglas from London, UK.
Yeah, originally.
Master coach, advanced master coach, and you specialize in lots of things. So mobility, postural rehabilitation, strength and conditioning, yoga.
Yeah.
What else did I miss?
All of the things. I mean, cross-training, power, plyometrics, calisthenics, all of these things I've done over the years, and I've taught them and been a teacher of these things and practiced them myself through different stages. But I come from a kickboxing and Muay Thai background also. My coach was Andy Jardine, who's a professional coach and trainer. He works with the Hollywood stars now, but over the years, many things. The bodybuilding background, which is where I started.
Yes. So that's an evolution you've had. Like, you've had this massive journey. And how old are you now, if you mind sharing?
I'm 50 years young.
50 years young, and you've had such a wide variety of practices, physical practices that you've done in your 30-year career of coaching, right? You've been coaching for close to 30 years now. 30 years, 33 years since I first stepped in the gym at 17. Wow.
Back in London, Chiswick, Jack's Gym, Hogarth Gym in Chiswick, which used to be famous back in the days, where a lot of professional bodybuilders come from. This was a gym of just bodybuilders and powerlifters. So I was very blessed and fortunate and lucky enough to be training with people like Mark Rhino Spieth and some of the professional bodybuilders at that time were already British champions. My brother's now 62, Kerwin. He was already British light heavyweight champion then. So when I was a teenager, I was going to watch him in competitions, IFBB, which was UK BFF then. And so that was kind of my first initial inspiration. And then I just went straight in deep. And, when I was young and hungry with lots of testosterone, I said I want to get some muscle. And so I did. But I was a bit overweight then, and I was unhealthy, and I was lots of sicknesses with asthma, blue Ventolin, brown Ventolin, in and out of hospital in the nebulizer, migraines, chest infections. I couldn't play sport at school or anything. Just walking up the stairs, I was out of breath and things like this. So this was a constant battle, and I just kind of got tired of that. And then the gym just started to give me that little bit of strength and start to work my lungs and push myself a bit more. And then I decided I was just sick and tired of being sick and, relying on medication. And so then I started to study Optimum Nutrition, which took me to, later on achieving more things and greatness, and later on becoming a coach and trainer to help other people to achieve better things and to realize that they don't have to stay sick. They can choose. Everything is about choice and decision. And if you understand how food reacts and how the body reacts to food, and nutrients and micronutrients and things that help us to minimize these allergies and all of the rubbish that's out there that I used to put in my body. I didn't realize it was killing me, you know. So this was a thing that I chose to do, and so thank God I did, because I'd probably be dead by now, you know.
Was it that bad?
Yeah. I mean, at one time I was carrying an EpiPen to, in case of the swellings. I used to get inflammation and swellings, and sometimes I'd get these big hives, and the doctor said, you need to carry an EpiPen, because if your throat swells up, you cut off you cut off the circulation and breath and could drop down dead. And with my asthma as well, the wheezing, I was allergic to cats, dust, pollen, mites, grass, everything triggered me. So, you know, I just, I grew through that, and I started to get on the treadmill, slowly work harder, and started to do some interval training, and then go to interval sprints. And then the next thing I knew, I was evolving to, you know, really doing full out 22-kilometer interval sprints, starting at 15 seconds, building up to 30 seconds, doing that.
But how did you manage to do that when you had asthma? Wouldn't that make it worse?
Well, it was a little bit of changing my nutrition and realizing that all of this rubbish that was put inside me, like white bread and, you know, pasta and all of these things that were just easy to eat. You know, you brought up on toast in the morning and sandwiches, and you're brought up on cereals and bowls of pasta. And when you start training bodybuilding, pasta and tuna is like the cheapest thing to eat. As many people know, I didn't go to university as such, but I think it's a famous college university thing just to have pasta. And I realized all of these things that are white, sugar, white flour, white rice, white pasta, these was all triggering things in me, and my body didn't want them, you know. And so as I started to train, and I decided to change my nutrition and, you know, eat like my mum used to tell me, you know, eat your meat and 2 veggies. And so start to eat more vegetables and eat more healthier foods. And my oats, you know, porridge, as they say, the breakfast of champions. Start to eat my porridge and do all these little things and take away the Coca-Colas and the sweets and stuff. And, you know, I think it was the training that made me think, well, if I'm going to train, I might as well try to be healthier and stronger and fitter and see where I go from there. And then it was an evolution of things. And I think Patrick Holford come into my life, which is a professional Optimum Nutrition coach, and he's in South Africa. But I was lucky enough to be training his, what do you call it? His accountant up in London, LA Fitness Piccadilly, where I used to work, Regent Street. And then from there, I started to study more and learn more and grow more and do some courses and read the book, The Optimum Nutrition Bible by Patrick Holford. And then from there, it was just more. Then I wanted to know more. Then it was studying through Harvard and studying through the top gurus and understanding about simple things, not just asthma and not just nutrition, and losing my fat, because I was 117 kilos overweight.
That's like what, 250 pounds, something like that?
But unhealthily overweight.
Yeah.
You know, this is classed as obese.
Yeah.
And then I decided, well, let me put this fat to the challenge and see if I can use it to gain some muscle. And so I did that, and then I become later on, you know, into the bodybuilding as I got fitter and stronger. Then in 2000, 22 years ago now, I decided to do my first competition, which was the IFBB Stars of Tomorrow, which is all of the UK. And I went in and done my first show and got second place. And then I thought, okay, well then I have a bit of a chance here. And then I kind of got to know my body more and evolved. And then I went in later to do another show. And second place IFBB. Later on, first place Miami Pro Universe Natural Classic Bodybuilding. Second place Miami Pro Universe Muscle Model. And then I got second place Classic Bodybuilding, which later on turned to Classic Physique. And then I decided at 45 I'd try a master's class. I went in and done IFBB Masters over 45s, and I got first place there. So it was quite a nice journey, and it kind of boosted my confidence. And through getting shredded and meeting more professionals and being in London and going to the different shows, NEC Birmingham, like the bodybuilding exhibition every year and things like this, then I kind of got around and I got to know more people, and working at London Westfield Gym Box. 20 coaches there. I become the #1 coach and trainer there. I'm working with the general manager and working 50, 60 hours a week doing back-to-back personal training and things like that. And later on, It was just that. It was just a continued journey, working with people and helping them and teaching classes, body pump, body combat, kettlebells, all of the basic classes.
Yeah. So we'll get into your experience in a second, but I want to go back to the asthma real quick, because there might be someone watching or listening who has asthma or has a loved one who has asthma.
Yeah.
So you had asthma, and it sounds like you just changed up your nutrition, because your nutrition at the time wasn't the best, right? You changed up your nutrition and started training.
Yeah.
So was that the only two things you did that were the biggest change that made you not have asthma anymore? Or?
I think it was the choosing to, at a young age, I decided to kind of try and take a leap of faith and lose the fear. So that fear of, I'm going to get asthma, I'm going to need my nebulizer, I'd go to the hospital. I had my Ventolin, I would use it. I come off the brown Ventolin, which is more of a steroid Ventolin, and I used the blue one when I needed it, but I tried to cut back on it. And then I started to move more, train a little bit harder. So you're using your lungs, more capacity, doing things like pullovers for my lung expansion and my chest expansion.
Like this, right?
Yeah, but they're like there's lat pullovers for your back, and then there's like with a bent arm pullovers leading from the elbows, which in the old school days you'd have a pullover machine, and this will expand your rib cage and expand the capacity of your lungs and give you more room to breathe and open up the chest, because we're very closed off and very forward yang pushing, and we're pushing chest, we're pushing shoulders, we're pushing triceps. So we open up to breathe, then we create more lung capacity, and then with changing the food and taking out all this, what they call it now, allergy, we are allergic to gluten. Nobody's allergic to gluten. We all are, but we're not. It's the pollens within the flowers and all of this processed rubbish and how they create things and how they make it now for the supermarkets, you know. It's the pollens, the allergens that trigger us off and give us the same feeling as a pollen that you get from a flower is the same as a flower that you're allergic to. The smell of something can trigger you off to sneeze or whatever. And then I started to get on the treadmill a little bit, and I said, okay, let me push myself. Walk, power walk, hill walk, until I turned that into a jog. Recover, interval training, jog, walk, rest, jog, walk, rest, and then jog, walk, sprint. And then I slowly built up the tolerance with the training, becoming more intensive, and then slowly going into some supersets. And then all of a sudden, with the clean food, we're taking out the rubbish, but having a cheat day always in, because I always want to have a bit of rubbish. Sundays, relax, have some cheating, and then slowly those cheat days become a cheat morning. And then I'm eating cleaner, and then I'm thinking better, and my mind and my body and my health just became, you know, I just said, I feel like this feeling, I've achieved something, let me continue. And then I studied more, and then I started to incorporate more superfoods.
Right. What do you think of the word cheat? Because that's something that I personally, I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah.
Because for me, what I tell people, this is my personal philosophy, is I don't use that word in my nutrition, right? Like I just think, oh, if I'm eating a cheesecake today, then I just eat a cheesecake. It's something I don't normally eat, but I'm not being bad. Like I'm not cheating on my diet. So how do you think of it when you are eating this kind of foods?
I think the word cheat day comes more from the bodybuilding side of things, because in bodybuilding you're training and you're eating. If you're prepping for 12, 14, 16 weeks for a competition, you kind of call it a cheat day because you're eating clean. Now when we say clean, we're not eating celery sticks and salads and all of this silly stuff. This is for, you know, this is dieting, and for me dieting is a swear word. So a day of relaxing, you could call it, letting yourself go. So generally I would kind of eat Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, good clean food, good macronutrients, clean food, proteins, carbs controlled, and fats, healthy fats of course. Sticking to the macro requirement that I needed, and then on a Wednesday evening I'd have a cheap meal as such, or I'd relax and have the cheeseburger with chips, whatever it might be. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday I'm back to clean eating, and on Sunday I relax, do what I want, wake up, bacon, egg, sausage, beans, toast, whatever I want, afternoon, bar of chocolate, whatever it is, relax. But then on Monday I go back to clean eating, and my metabolism's raised, my body thinks I'm going back in to the junk food, and I'm at a next level of fat burning. So it's not cheating. You should be able to enjoy healthy food, and there should be a healthy balance. And until this day, I keep a healthy balance. When I want to eat a pizza, I'm eating the whole pizza. I don't eat one biscuit, I'm eating the packet.
And no guilt?
No guilt at all. The guilt is the worst thing in the world, I think, for you, because mentally and physically, if the mind says guilty, if you're sitting there eating it and you're thinking about it, oh my God, I shouldn't be eating this, but I want it and I taste it and I need it. It's because you've got an imbalance and you've got a lack of nutrients and you didn't eat enough meals, you didn't eat enough healthy fats, you didn't eat enough protein, and your body says, I need sugar, I need sugar, I need sugar. And you feel guilty for it because you're on a diet, which you shouldn't be. You should be on a healthy eating regime as a lifestyle if you want to be healthier. And then enjoy it. Don't eat one biscuit. Eat the whole packet, but don't eat the whole packet every day. And don't keep going back for 2 every day. Finish them off, enjoy them. Sit there, have the sugar crash, and wake up and eat clean again, you know?
As you say that, there's someone in there, there's someone out there, I know it because this is part of experience, you've probably experienced this too, so I'll ask you, what do you say to the clients that struggle with overeating?
Well, my way of nutrition is an Optimum Nutrition coach. I'm not a dietitian and I'm not a nutritionist. Optimum Nutrition is for optimum vitality, recuperation, recovery, repair, immune system, and your hormonal balance. Minimize the risk of chronic heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's by 50 to 70%, scientifically proven. Optimum Nutrition. So with my clients in an Optimum Nutrition consultation, which I give to this day, they end up eating more, sometimes more than they ever have, but of the right foods. And then it comes down to quantities. So if they're generally overeating and they eat too much and of the wrong foods, it's because their body's craving things that they're not giving. So we give more of what we need to minimize the wants. And this is just something left in the middle where phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, something is missing. But our body doesn't say, you need more magnesium, you need more calcium. It doesn't know that. It just says, I want. And the eyes go for what we want. But if we give it what we need, there's less of the want. But we can eat right meals. We can eat 6 times a day of 500 calories, which isn't a very big portion of food if it's the right food. And then we create that satisfaction in the body and we balance the hormones, because all we are is a big walking bunch of hormones. And them hormones send signals to the brain. And all of these bacteria in the body say, I need, I want. And that's what happens. And so I always show people how food works through the Optimum Nutrition consultation, explaining things which we haven't got time to do here and now. And it's a 1-hour consultation that really shows how food reacts, quantities and amounts and what's in what and how we control those cravings, because it's just a craving, that hormonal response. So by giving the right foods and eating the right amounts of the fats and proteins, more importantly than the carbohydrates, because protein is number 1 for cell recovery, recuperation, repair, cell replacement, all of this is from protein. And fats digest slowest, then it's proteins, and then it's carbohydrates, depending on where it fits in the glycemic index or the glycemic load, how it affects your glucose levels. And so eating lots of healthy fats with the proteins, nowadays they call this keto, using keto. I understand keto and how it works, and I understand the benefits, but it's not sustainable from what I've seen in all of my years of experience. And it can be sometimes unhealthy if you're not eating enough fiber to digest that protein. So if 1 gram of fats is 9 calories and 1 gram of carbs and protein is only 4, if you lower the carbs and you add fats, you put an extra double plus 1 calorie on top to create a balance. If you need 2,500 calories, you eat 2,500 calories. You don't need 1,500 to lose weight. You give your body what it needs of the right micronutrients to keep it satisfied, and then you don't need to overeat. But then when you want to sit down and eat bad and have a big bowl of pasta or a pizza, you have it on a Wednesday. You have it on a Sunday.
Precisely, man, exactly. Yeah, so I actually thought that we had a similar philosophy on nutrition, and I've learned this through experience and over the years studying as well, as you're doing with your clients. So it's cool. I look at you and I'm like, man, I just got to ask you so many questions because you've got so much more experience and all the different problems that people have. So what's the biggest problem that you see with working with clients from all walks of life? Or they've got a busy job, they've got kids. What's like the biggest problem?
I wouldn't say it's a problem. I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, I think it's more about what people aren't doing and how people like to follow other trends or fads. And, people have beliefs, but a belief is only a thought that you've thought so many times it becomes a belief, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. What I believe. And so training, everyone wants to say, the excuse is always time. If we make that time productive as we can, if 70% is nutrition and 30% is exercise, to get that 30% is exercise is very difficult. Most people get 5 to 10% correct. And if they're lucky, they might get 25%. When people say they're eating healthy, after sitting down with me, they realize they really wasn't, because they understand what Optimum Nutrition is and how food and portioning and control and micronutrients serves the body. So I think the biggest problem is a misunderstanding of what eating healthy is, and a misunderstanding of how you can be the most productive in the gym in a short amount of time. Now, 45 minutes is enough to have a fantastic workout and hit maybe 2 body parts if you do it correctly. But most people are just going into the gym, they're doing a set of something, they're having a rest, sitting on the mobile, minute pass, 2 minutes pass, they maybe do another set. They're training like a bodybuilder that just wants to gain muscle. And if you want to just gain muscle and you're an ectomorph, there's a certain way to do it. If you're a mesomorph, there's a certain way to do it. If you're an endomorph, there's a certain way to do it. So knowing your somatotype, first of all, knowing your goal, your body type, because an ectomorph, a mesomorph, and an endomorph needs to train totally different. They also need a totally different macronutrient, supply of food. Higher fats, lower fats, higher carbs. An ectomorph needs to eat higher carbs. Like, there's certain ways of doing it, and then there's different ways of training, because an ectomorph will need to train for less time, warm up and push hard and get out and eat. Whereas an endomorph will need to spend a bit more time in there. They'll need to do a little bit more of an intensive workout, a little bit more volume, because they're naturally big and round and strong and lift, so use that power and strength, but then also incorporate some cardio to help get that endurance, stamina, work a bit more intensively to get some more muscular endurance to achieve bringing yourself from an endomorph like I was into a mesomorph where I am now. I could never be an ectomorph. It's a naturally very thin, skinny person. If you train like a mesomorph or an endomorph, you know what I mean? An ectomorph can't be a mesomorph, and a mesomorph can't be an ectomorph, so you have to do the right things, and you have to give yourself the right rest time. An ectomorph would train and have a longer rest time. An endomorph would need to have a shorter rest time and work faster and more intensively. Everything is volume and intensity, but people think it's about sets, reps, how many exercises. None of it matters. Everybody, a 70-year-old man or a 20-year-old boy, needs to train with intensity and volume. You work at your level of intensity and your level of volume, and that level of intensity and volume will slowly increase, given the right method of training and the right push and the right will and ability and nutrition, because 70%, if you train for an hour, you've got 23 hours to balls it all up, right? And so you are what you eat, and if you are what you eat, then you can train as great as you want or think you're training as great as you want, but if the nutrition doesn't complement that training, you're never going to achieve the results. And so
I see that a lot, especially like in London. You must have seen that so many times. People come into class, they've been coming to class for months, and they want to like lean down, but they just look the same. Or maybe they even put on weight after a few months of them consistently going to class.
Yeah.
And so from there, it's like their nutrition is not dialed in.
Yeah. And again, this putting on weight, people say, I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight. Nobody wants to lose weight. Nobody wants to gain weight. You want to lose fat, or you want to gain muscle. And preferably we want to try to gain some quality lean muscle. If we just eat loads, put 5,000 calories in our body and eat everything and anything, and take these mass gainer protein shakes full of sugar and everything, of course you're going to gain weight. But what do you really want to gain? Muscle. You want to be lean and toned. We want to be healthy and fit. We want to try to live longer and look good, have a physique, be aesthetic. If you want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronnie Coleman bodybuilder, then things are going to be different, because you're going to have to start putting some stuff in, and you're really going to have to start lifting some crazy weight. And this is different, So I come from a bodybuilding background, but it's not this big, massive. I won my professional championships on pro card at 80 kilos on stage. It's about aesthetics, 26-inch weights.
No one would have thought that though. You look huge.
Because it's visual. It's a totally different thing. You can be 70 kilos and on stage you look like 90 kilos because the leaner you get, the bigger you look. And if you get a small waist and practice things like I do, like the vacuum to really get the waist in small and tiny.
What's the vacuum?
The vacuum is hypopressivo. So practicing the vacuum you've seen with the yogis where they make the waist really small and you've got this, the abdomen is just like doing the snake and things like that. So as you exhale, you breathe out, you hold the breath out. With your mind, you control the abdomen, you suck in the waist, your ribs are popping out and the waist becomes small. It's a natural stomach belt. You know, they go for the stomach, what do you call it? The stomach belts? I can't remember what they call it now.
Weight belts?
No, like they actually go and have
trainers.
Operations to have the stomach shrunk and they have this...
Oh, the bariatric surgery.
Yeah. So this is a natural way to make your waist smaller, make your stomach smaller if you're eating the right portions of food and not stretching your belly. And this is how you get that V taper. So if your shoulders are there and your lats are here and your waist is here, you automatically look massive. If you've got a 36-inch waist and a 50-inch chest, there's only that 14 inches of difference between the two. If you've got a 50-inch chest and you've got a 26-inch waist, the V taper comes in. So everything is about vision, symmetry, proportion, and doing the right thing.
Because that's I've moved away from like the fitness space.
Yeah.
But when I started out in that space, I was selling this program. I was like, get shredded in 3 weeks because I did it in 3 weeks. You can get shredded, and then I was attracting all these like 25-year-old bros who wanted to just. How can I get my lower 2 abs to start showing? And I was like, oh man, I actually started resenting my customers because I was like, this is not, my trajectory wasn't that, right? My trajectory was getting in shape and then, realizing like the stuff that we're going to get into is the mobility, the rehab, like the joint work and all that kind of stuff. But most people just want to look good. And that's the thing. Everyone just wants to look good. Yeah.
It's nice to look good. It's good to look good and it's good to feel good. I think feeling good and being healthy and happy is a lot more important than looking good. But if you can look good and feel healthy and happy, then this is double bubble, right? This is 2 for 1 and a free shot, as they say. And you can achieve that if you understand good nutrition. 90% of everyone I've seen, and I've seen thousands of people over the year, especially the ones that sit down and say, I eat healthily. 90% of them was not eating healthily and didn't understand really what food, how it reacts to your body, and what kind of nutrients they need and where they get it from and how they start the day in the first meal, how it affects you for the rest of the day from the hormone response and how the glucose and insulin and cortisol and all these crazy things that's going in your body is going to affect everything. And then the fuel for your training and what you should eat before and what you should eat after and when you should eat it and what. All of these things is such a science, but it's really complicated. It really isn't a science. It's very, very simple. But unfortunately, there's so much saturation of information out there. Nobody really knows what to listen to or believe. And so you just think, well, everyone's taking supplements, so we need to take a protein shake. And we need to take branched-chain amino acids. And we need to eat 500 grams of chicken breast and a kilo of steak. And this is not healthy. You know, it's not healthy. Your body cannot absorb this. If you're Ronnie Coleman, you can maybe eat 200 grams of steak at a time. Otherwise, you can't digest it. Where it's going to go, an excess of carbohydrates or protein is going to release insulin and it's going to be sitting around here. Because this is the area where you see somebody who has diabetes, they take the insulin into the abdomen area, around the umbilical area, because the hormone responsible here is cortisol. This hangs around here. When you have an insulin spike and you overeat, too much pasta, too much rice, too much sugar, too much anything, the response is raise insulin, comes up. Anything that goes up must come down. To control this, our body releases cortisol, and therefore there's an influx and an imbalance, and cortisol going to sit around here, which is where 90% of most people want to lose. They want to get that bottom 2 abs. They want to see their 6-pack. This is just a hormonal response of cortisol. And so it's, again, controlling, eating what you need, enough of what you need for your body weight, your activity levels, and the intensity of training that you're doing, and how many days a week or how many hours of exercise you're doing. This will be calculated into what you really need to achieve your goal. And then if you haven't got an influx, if you haven't got an access of sugar, carbs, insulin, protein, even protein releases insulin if there's too much, to break it down again and get your balance. Your body wants to be at homeostasis all the time. And so these are the things that are the biggest problems. People saying, I want to lose weight, gain weight, I eat healthy, I eat fruit all day long, I'm really healthy, and I eat lots of salad. I mean, this is not food. This is fructose and water, right? It's just simple things like this, which is...
Yeah, it's such a minefield out there for people because, like you said, you don't know what to believe. Like, oh, this guy's eating salads and he looks like that, so I'll eat salads. Oh, you're like, he's eating fruits. I'll eat fruits. He looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, of course, objectively speaking, that would make sense. But then, of course, no one knows nothing is as it seems, right? So, for example, like people can look at us and be like, oh, for example, I've seen other guys and they're like, oh, I think they must have no back pain, no pain at all because they look so great. They must feel amazing in their body every day. And then what I realized when I came into this space and started meeting these people who are like, they look amazing. And I started talking to them about movement and how they feel. Oh, my back's hurting. Oh, my knees. And jiu-jitsu, I see it a lot. Like most people that train jiu-jitsu are injured. And everyone the more I talk to these people, the most of the people that are in good shape physically, aesthetically, a lot of them have niggling, ongoing injuries that they just train through. But then the flip side of that is the people that don't train look at these people and idolize them and put them on a pedestal because they're like, wow, that guy that girl, that woman has got an amazing body.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, again, it's, sometimes there is injuries. I've had some injuries in the past, but this was more from when I was younger and I didn't really understand the body so well and I didn't mobilize and I didn't warm up correctly. Now, these things are simple. Again, these are common mistakes, again, when we talk about exercise and problems and issues. Warm up is not getting on the treadmill for 10 minutes. All you're doing is putting one foot in front of the other and you're working the lungs. If you're going to go and do chest and biceps, what is the treadmill doing for you? It's not doing nothing. We don't want to sweat. We want to warm up, mobilize the body, and so releasing synovial fluids into the joints, into the elbows, into the shoulders. Maybe doing I work with my clients and myself in my training. I will do some rotator cuff rehabilitation exercises as a warm up for mobility, and I start every single workout with yoga, and so do all my clients. They don't practice yoga, but they're going to be doing up dog, down dog, and a few different little moves before we touch a weight. And so injuries come through simple things like that, not mobilizing the body, thinking that we just get on the bench and we're going to use the 20 kilo barbell to have one set of 12 reps and we're warm. You're not. The synovial fluids need to raise in temperature. Your body needs to raise in temperature in the right way, So simple things like this are big mistakes.
How did you figure that out, though? Because in the bodybuilding space, when you started training, that's what everyone does for warm-ups. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, they do. And so that's how I learned the hard way. And, I was young and strong and full of testosterone and had lots of excess fat to use. People say we turn that into muscle. You can't turn fat into muscle, but you can utilize fat as energy. But the body has been trained to use sugar as energy rather than coming back to natural way of living and using fat. God put us on this earth to utilize fat. As a hunter-gatherer, as a caveman, we used to run and chase our animals and gather something and eat once a day, maybe twice a day, so we was fasting naturally. Later on become farms and planting and potatoes and vegetables, and so we started to eat more. Later on become the wheat and rice and all of these things. In the Western world, even rice has only been around for how long? Maybe 60 years. The Chinese food started coming into America and then later on into England. Like, we're not used to it. In Indonesia, they've been eating rice for thousands or hundreds of years, so they're used to it. If I sit and eat rice every day, like these guys, I'll be 117 kilos again. So coming back to the training, it's understanding, mobilizing the body. I don't call anything a warm-up. I say let's mobilize, let's get prepared for exercise depending on what body parts you might be training. And then it's also just understanding those simple things to do, how you mobilize those joints, how you get the circulation moving, preparing the joints for a workout, and then you slowly build up the intensity. And in my training with my clients as well, I always say, once you go up and you go hard, you stay hard. You don't come up and down, up and down. I see people doing all this pyramid training, up and down, like, if you want to gain some muscle tone, because to tone up is to increase in lean muscle. 90% of the world wants to tone up and maybe lose some fat. 90% of everyone. Who doesn't want to tone up and lose fat, right? Other than these people that just say, I want to be huge. Okay, that's fine, no problem with that. That's beautiful. It's going to be different. But at the end of the day, you're still increasing lean muscle, right? Even if you're bodybuilding. You can't go from 60 kilos to 100 kilos in a couple of months. It takes you years, all right?
A lot of people I think a lot of people don't know their actual goals as well.
Yeah.
To say, oh, what's your goal? Oh, I just want to look better. I just want to lose a bit of weight, I just want to lose these love handles and just, put on a bit of muscle. But they don't actually know what that looks like, or they can't articulate it properly.
Yeah.
So have you found that as well with people?
Yeah. I mean, with my clients, I always ask them, what do you want to look like? What is your goal? Why do you want to look like that? Have you got an idol? Is there something, a physique that you maybe like, that you would like to look like for your own feeling of looking in the mirror? Or is it for you to be outside and have more confidence? A lot of times it's about gaining more confidence. And we see all these bodies and all of this social media, it kind of like, I need to look a certain way. And that's normal now. We know that. We've accepted this in society, of course. But knowing what you want to look like and why you want to look like it, first of all, I think is a great thing, because the mind is a crazy thing, and sometimes we feel like we have to look like that to fit in or be accepted, or so we can get the girl, or we can, whatever it might be, So I always just tell people to have a think about it and say, you want to be lean? You want to be toned? Do you want to have a good physique, look aesthetic? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be fit? Do you want to be able to move your body, have flexibility? Like, the answer is normally yes, 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 yes. Okay, well, this is the way that we can achieve that. For me, it's about transformation, mind, body, soul, and having that strength and flexibility. The two combined, because that's the yin and the yang for me, One without the other is useless. You can be strong, but without flexibility, you're guaranteed to have an injury. You can be flexible. You can be this thin, yogi, flexible, doing all kinds of crazy positions and asanas and postures and movements, but without the strength, there's going to be a problem. I've worked with Pilates instructors, yoga coaches, everything, all rehabilitation, because they have weaknesses. So one without the other is not right. All the yoga is pushing, pushing, pushing. There's no pulling. So this is a synergistic, antagonistic, the yin and the yang, concentric, eccentric. Everything has an opposite. There's not enough working. Everything is very forward. Everything is very yang. Push, 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 push. And stress, and chest, and shoulders, and tricep, and yoga, and push-ups. Whatever you want to call it. Everything is forward, 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 forward. And so it needs to be the opposites. And I think I always recommend to people, I work with all of my clients and my training is the push and pull principle. If I work chest, push. I'm going to pull with the back. Or I might do chest and pull with the biceps. If I do quadriceps, I'm going to go straight over and do a hamstring. Leg extension, leg curl, for example. Or a squat with a Romania deadlift. Chest, if I'm going to push shoulders, I'm going to go straight in and pull back, because it's an opposite, right? Synergistic and antagonistic. As you contract and use one muscle, the opposite has to relax and stretch. So if I do a bicep curl, I go straight over, do a tricep extension, the bicep is relaxing and stretching. So I've got the balance of each muscle working, and I'm keeping the blood within one nice area as well, rather than running it all around the body, So this is just a good way of doing things, and this is also a way of achieving the best results, which is going back to what we said about, people not being productive in their training and the excuse of having time. If you want to get lean, you want to control fat, let's say, and not get lean, and you want to be fit, and you want to be strong, and you want to have stamina and endurance and all of these things, then why wouldn't you do a superset? Sitting there doing one set and hanging around, sitting there one set. The average guy wants to tone up, or woman, tone up and control fat. Push and pull, chest and back, chest or biceps, back and triceps, whatever it might be. Superset, rest, superset, rest, superset, rest. Then you can build up to do double superset rest, double superset rest, double superset rest, triple superset rest. This is how you build up stamina endurance. So the muscle is always getting a rest. I work one, rest it, work one, rest it, work one, rest it. But the lungs and the heart is always working. So you're building up stamina endurance. You don't therefore have to do cardio as such, because you're getting a cardiovascular workout within your training. So the intensity, that's intensity. Now the volume will be the amount of weight that you will lift throughout that workout to the total volume that you've achieved. So if you have a high intensity, high volume workout and you're pushing, lifting heavier, done set of 10, opposite muscle set of 10, and you slowly increase the weights for that set of 10, you're constantly increasing the intensity and the volume of that workout, because the overall volume of the weight you lifted and the sets and the reps would be blah, blah, blah. So this is a simple method, which is not really understood too well. I go to the gym and I do a superset. I come off one machine with the client and go back, and someone's sitting there. They see me working over there. They don't understand the concept. Why are you coming back here? You're doing chest there. No, I'm doing chest and back.
Yeah.
This is the best way. If you think about it, it's just so logical. This is 80% of the world could be so healthy and fit if they just done a simple superset concept and increase that superset and add on a little bit of weight. You go from 10 reps at 20 kilo to 11 reps at 20 kilo to 12 reps at 20 kilos. When you can do 15 reps, chuck it up to 22 kilos and push out 10 again, or 25 kilos and push out 10. When you can get 12, 13, 14, 15, boom, we're going 30 kilos or 20 to 27 kilos. It's a constant way. This is the safest way for your body to naturally gain strength, gain muscular endurance, and increase your stamina and your physical endurance. And you're also working at an intensity and volume all the time. And so, therefore, your metabolism is going to be high and your body is going to be constantly burning fat. If we're not eating lots and lots of sugar, of course.
Yeah, that's supersets is such a interesting concept, and I use that with myself, my own training and clients, right? Because it's a way to get the most out of the least amount of time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you don't need that much time. If you're doing supersets, you don't.
You can get 2 muscle groups done, or 3 or 4 exercises in supersets. You can be out of there in 45, 50 minutes. You're done.
Yeah.
You know, of course you want to go in, mobilize the body for 5 minutes or so at least, and then it would be nice to say finish and have a little stretch of each of the muscles that you worked out. But everyone's in such a rush. Well, if you do supersets, you've got time to warm up and have a stretch, and you still only got an hour. Now you've got 23 hours a day to put in some good food and get the results from your training.
Yeah. So how do you build strength that way, though? Like, if someone wants to build strength, they want to just get stronger. What would you be your advice? I guess it's a better question.
In a sense of what?
To build more strength in their muscular physique, their body. They just want to build. They just want to feel stronger. Because right now maybe they feel weak. Because a lot of people don't train, even if they know they should. They just don't.
Well, I suppose you can come down. So calisthenically, this just means working with your body, and so just doing some simple pull-ups and push-ups is a great way to start. And let's not forget, press-ups are highly, highly, highly underrated. You think about the weight that you use of your body weight on a press-up. Some people can't do 1. Some people could do 5. Some people could do 50 if you've trained for it and you're doing training of that kind of thing. Some people can't do 1 pull-up, but you can do a lying pull-up. You can do a lying pull-up in a bridge with your knees bent, the hips up, and do a lying pull-up. You start there, which is where I start with my female clients. Then you go to straight legs in a lying pull-up, and you will slowly bring yourself up to a vertical pull-up, assisted, holding onto the hips or the legs, and then you slowly do 1 pull-up, and next thing you know, you're doing 10. Next thing you know, you're doing 5 sets of 10. So everything has a evolution. Everything has a progression. So we can start with our bodies. Doing push-ups and putting your legs on a chair or on a table, now you've become more resistant. Gravity has put more weight on top of your body. It's scientifically proven. You can have a look on Google. Anyone can who's watching this and who will listen to this. doing push-ups and doing bench presses, there's very, very, very little difference in what you can achieve. If you look at somebody's Hannibal was king, calisthenics, guy that really put calisthenics out there with a good physique, big muscles. This was through calisthenics. He's got a chest to die for. This was calisthenics. He uses body weight. It was not so much the pumping in the gym. And he can do stuff that most people can't do. And he's a big, strong guy. You know, these calisthenics kings are normally quite thin. People come from gymnastics background and stuff. So you can really, really gain a lot of strength and muscle from doing some simple, basic compound exercise, which is push and pull, pull-ups, press-ups. This is where we start. You can make a squat with your body weight, become plyometric, and make it a jump. Now this is going to hit the B2 white muscle fibers and going to create strength and growth. Yeah, simple way to start.
It's quite simple, right? Like, it's the basics again.
It's like really basic.
The basics work in any industry, right? And I actually was doing a live yesterday with you know, Mike Chang.
Yeah. I watched a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So and someone asked this. They asked, so does bench press and squats and pull-ups, should I be doing those exercises? And I just thought to myself, that's a really interesting question, because that's like the basics of building muscle, the compound movements.
The compound movements, yeah. Your bench presses, your squats, your lunges, you know, your basic shoulder presses, pushes and pulls, pull-ups, whatever.
Because that's a big mistake most people make in the gym, is they do isolation exercises when their goal is to build muscle.
Yeah.
You've seen that, probably seen that a lot.
And a lot of people don't do deadlifts. Now, deadlifts for me is the number one compound exercise. A deadlift is the exercise that you can lift more weight than any other exercise in the world, without a doubt. Unless you're Ronnie Coleman, maybe. And you're going to use more muscles.
Yeah.
And the core more than a plank. So you really gain a strong transverse abdominis as well as a lower back, which we really need to support, because 90% of all injuries are normally lower back, which is, there's no such thing as a bad back. This stems from a weak core. So doing something like a deadlift is going to give you a strong core. It's going to give you a foundation of your lumbar, the lower back, support your spine for your lifts and pushes and everything else. Getting stronger in a deadlift makes you stronger in everything else. You'll be stronger in pulls, you'll be stronger in pushes, just from doing deadlifts, because it's such a big compound exercise. You see everyone doing dumbbells, bench presses, and pull downs, and all of these other exercises, and all of the machines nowadays. We sit down, you know, we're in bed all day, all night, and then we get up and we sit on a machine. You know, we don't have to be calisthenics. We don't have to be using your own body. It's beautiful, like in Nirvana Strength where we met. There's no machines there. There's some barbells and dumbbells, but the idea is you be the machine. You'll never see me in a gym with a client sitting on a machine. Everything is body weight, dumbbell or a barbell or a kettlebell. I'll use cables, because cables we can do rehabilitation exercise, and we can do certain isolation exercises like rear delts, working the rhomboids, which support the shoulders and scapula, which most people don't even know what a rhomboid is. That's why we have all these problems in the upper back, traps, pain, and all of these other things, you know. With everything now, mobile phones, laptops, too much work, you eat your dinner there, you read a book there, pushing in the gym, tricep pushing, lean over, everything is very forward, as we spoke about earlier, and so we're getting this natural kyphosis now as well. Everybody's forward leaning and got neck pains, upper back pains, and later on it's going to give you lower back pains because the core is weak, you've got kyphosis, and you've got all of these issues, and then this is where we've led to, this is where we are today. And then we're just pushing, doing the wrong things in the gym, and we're not eating as we necessarily should be to support the body and recovery and the cells and the protein and all of these things. So it's just a big vicious circle. And I think a lot of it is down to pressure and watching all these other people and seeing all these people that are out there and maybe physique champions and professionals and, you know, in the IFBB or whatever it is, these people that are there as a promoter for supplements and proteins, and everybody looks at them saying, we must do this, we must take that, we must train like that. But most of them people have been doing these things for years, and 90% of them, if they're professionals, they've got a coach. They might not do every video on YouTube with their coach, but they've got a coach. They learn from another professional. So I always say even a coach needs a coach, because you don't become an Olympic athlete without a coach. They have a coach. You don't become a professional boxer without a coach. We all need a coach. A coach needs a coach, because most of us don't practice what we preach. You know,
you've probably seen that a lot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I was in Thailand at a gym, and I'm doing my workout, and there's these personal trainers there next to me training these clients, and then the owner of the gym came up to me, and he's like, "Hey, can you train some of my clients?" And I was like, "Oh, you got a bunch of personal trainers here?" And he's like, "Yeah, they don't know what they're doing."
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. I've seen that in Singapore as well, Fitness First. Like, what are these trainers doing? First of all, they don't even look like they're in shape. They don't even look like they work out.
Yeah.
And it's
well, unfortunately, you know, I try to stay as humble as possible always. I have my thoughts and feelings and beliefs about many of these things, and I've seen many things over the years that has really shocked me. But obviously in different places there aren't standards, you know. If you're in London where I used to be, and you're working for Gym Box and Gold's Gym, and you're working for certain chains and brands, and you know, back in the days of LA Fitness, you have to be registered of exercise professionals, and you're doing a course of a high standard. You know, I'm YMCA trained, which is one of the best in the world. And that was a long course with lots of modules and training, and this was just a basic foundation. I've learned much more in real life, with real people, and from continued learning and study after that. What I learned in the PT course was nothing, but unfortunately nowadays you can go online and get a PT certificate within 2 days.
Yeah.
And you've got a t-shirt on your back calling yourself a coach.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, I love Bali and I love people here, and I know loads of coaches and trainers in Bali, and I train at many gyms, and I work with clients in some of the gyms here, but there's no regulation about this. And of course, somewhere like Bali, you can have 10 hours of coaching or personal training for 2 million, 2.5 million, 2.2 million. Someone from the Western world who's paying $50 or $100 an hour comes and sees that and says, great. And that's beautiful. If you're needing motivation, that you're not self-motivated and you need someone to make you go and sit on a machine and train because you haven't got the will to do it, then that's cool. Why not pay $2 million a month to do that for 10 sessions? But if you really want to transform, if you really want coaching, if you really want to have a great body and have flexibility and mobility and achieve and get lean muscle and look, you know, have a physique that you can be proud of and happy with, and have symmetry and proportions, and be safe in your posture and technique, and listen to the body and understand how to listen to it, then this becomes coaching, right? Everything is technique. Boxing is technique. Olympic athletes is technique. You don't just run. I can't just run out there and say I'm Bolt or Linford Christie. I have to learn how to run properly. I need to do the right thing. I need to have coaching. And this is a big difference, you know. This for me is a universe apart.
Yeah, but a lot of people, especially when it comes to this health and fitness, they just don't think they need a coach. It's the craziest idea to me. Like, they just think, oh, I'll just go to this class. Like, you're training in London, right? You were training in London.
Yeah.
And in Canary Islands as well, in Ibiza, right?
Yeah.
And people show up to your classes, and I mean, it's great. They're doing a group class. That's great, right? Of course, we always encourage movement, everyone to move their bodies.
Yeah.
But I guess in that sense, you would be the coach. You are the coach in that environment. When they come to your class, you're the coach. Like right here in Bali, you're doing the beach workout, beach fit boot camps and stuff like that.
Beach boot camp, At Udara on a few days a week, So I am coaching. You know, I'm coaching a beach boot camp, but I'm making sure if you speak to anyone that comes to my classes or someone wants to video me, I'm constantly giving technique and posture tips. I'm teaching them to breathe in, inhale, exhale, pull, inhale, exhale, press, engage your core, brace yourself. For me, this is just natural. No one's just going to lift and push and go crazy. We're not doing an F45 workout. We're not doing HIIT training, and we're not doing CrossFit. But if we are going to do CrossFit or HIIT training, it's going to be done correctly and safely with technique and focus and bracing and the core and the mind-muscle connection and awareness to be safe. I've worked with CrossFit CrossFit gyms in Lanzarote, Canary Islands and Ibiza, working with them on flexibility and mobility because they're just pushing. And then I'm working with them in rehabilitation because it's just let's go. And it's all about going.
Yep.
But we're not thinking about technique and posture. It's about getting it over the head. It's about throwing it up. It's about lifting it up. It's about finishing that workout and winning and being that first one to beat that challenge.
Yeah.
And so there's millions of injuries. I'm sure we've all been there, and I'm sure we all know someone who's got a problem.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there's not enough focus on technique and posture and gaining natural strength and increasing your intensity and volume. That's all we need to do. You know, what is CrossFit? It comes from the concept of cross-training. What are we achieving? What are we doing in CrossFit? We're attacking the 3 different energy systems and the 3 different muscle fibers. Each muscle fiber appertains to a different energy system. The white B2 explosive muscle fibers connects to the phosphate creatine energy system, which only lasts for 6 to 10 seconds. When Bolt and Linford Christie sprint for 100 meters, they can do that in 9 seconds or whatever it is, because it's pure power. 6 to 10 seconds of power, white explosivity, boom. They cannot go for 1,000 meters at that same pace. It's impossible. You do a 400-meter run, or 400-meter run is now going into the lactic acid system. This is your type 2 muscle fibers, and a red, and your lactic acid energy system, and the type 2 muscle fibers, red. And then you got someone like Mo Farah, who does the long distance running. He's an ectomorph, and he's using his cardiovascular energy system, which is just oxygen and water. So he can keep going and going and going and going. As long as he keeps breathing and taking in water, he can go and 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 go. And so can we all if we practice it and we walk for longer, and we can go from here to Timbuktu, right? So when it comes to CrossFit, we're just linking the 3. If you do a 500-meter run and you do, you're working the cardiovascular energy system. If you do 10 pushes with 80 kilos, shoulder military press, for example, you're going to be using the lactic acid energy system. If you do 3 deadlifts of 200 kilos, it's an example, you're going to be using the phosphate creatine energy system, because you can't do 20 reps of 200 kilos, can you? Well, I don't know anyone who can. Maybe there's probably a few people out there, but I mean in general. So all we're doing is cross-training. This concept was stolen from the Marines and military, same as TRX, same as many things. So we now call it CrossFit because someone bought the franchise and made this. Very clever of him. He's done so well, and it's amazing now. And now we give names to these CrossFit workouts. We're just doing cross-training and giving it a name, and we're doing certain exercises throughout a workout. It just comes from cross-training. We can do that in every single workout every day if we want. You know, it's not a new concept. It's just a great concept. And of course we can get lean and tone and fit and strong and endurance and stamina and strength. We can get all of those things through cross-training, through CrossFit. But is it always being delivered correctly and safely? In many cases, no. Certainly in my experience, because I've seen a lot of CrossFitters come to me for some rehabilitation and physical therapy, you know. And they've begged me to teach them flexibility and mobility.
Yeah, so recently, adding to this what you're saying, I made a video saying what I wish I knew when I first started physical training. Because I've only been training for 6 years. Before that, I was a guy on the computer 12 hours a day. Okay. You know, I wasn't really focused on that. And my girlfriend at the time, she was a yoga teacher. She'd always tell me to, she'd always ask me to come to class. Yeah. And I'd be like, nah, I'm not good, I'm just working. You know, I was that guy. So when I started training, if I had to go back 6 years before, in the past, I would have started focusing on joint mobility and range of motion within my joints. Yeah. Because I think that's the foundation. So that's why I like your class, because, and it's on the weekend, because I'm like, oh, by the time the weekend comes, I'm just like, I just want to relax. Yeah. But that's an excuse, ultimately.
Thursday morning at 9 o'clock also.
Yeah, and I was training jiu-jitsu at that time. But yeah, not making excuses, but anyway, back to the class. Yeah. So I think flexibility, I'm thinking, man, if I only focused on flexibility 6 years ago, I'd be like you can do the splits. Well, I forgot to mention that. That's a small minor detail I forgot to mention.
Yeah, it's all about strength. For me, flexibility is key.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I got injured because I was doing too much pushing. I was like pushing.
Yeah.
Strength.
Yeah.
Showing off and, getting the validation from Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Like, I can bench press. What was I bench pressing on an incline bench? 225 pounds for 10 reps. Like easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, look at me. And I got a shoulder injury because I wasn't doing any shoulder rehab work. I didn't even know that the shoulder joint rotated like this. Yeah.
Rotator cuff muscles is one of the biggest injuries, when it comes to the training in the gym and bodybuilding. People have shoulder pain often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your philosophy on flexibility? Because I know you mentioned earlier, like you can't have strength without flexibility because you'll get injured.
Eventually something's going to happen. We're only as strong as our weakest link, and the weakest link is normally flexibility when it comes to gym and training and pushing and wanting to gain muscle. I've always worked with flexibility. Luckily, I've been practicing yoga for 16 years now. For me, everything is mindful, which is why my class is called Mindfulness Power Yoga, because everything is, I say, breath is king, but flexibility. So we can train. If you're going to do one set and rest, you're better off doing one set and stretching, so we can actively rest. So at least be more active and actively rest in a stretch. You do a chest, stretch your chest a little bit, lean against the door or find a pillar or whatever it is, have a little stretch so you can help flush out the lactic acid and you can help bring in oxygen blood to the surface. But flexibility is the yin and the yang for me, If you've got better range of motion, if your muscles are more flexible and they have more length and more movement, more pliability, then the recovery is going to be much faster also because the blood and everything can get in there. The oxygen can get in there. The recovery can happen better, right? So this is optimum recovery and recuperation. If we just do short ranges of movements, we end up with short muscles and we end up very stiff. If we want to be nice and open and free and the body and the mind and the breath and the muscles be able to breathe, then we want to have flexibility. And so full range of motion. This is concentric and this is eccentric. Well, the eccentric is sometimes not really worked on. We just pull something and we just think about taking it back. But we can actually get almost more benefits from controlling the eccentric motion as well. But as we don't just think about eccentric, what are we doing? We're lengthening the muscle. So full range. We don't want to be locking out too much. We don't want to put additional pain into the elbows, locking out the knees. We want to keep it on the muscles, but certainly that synergistic, antagonistic, the yin and the yang, that concentric, eccentric. And how can we do that most easily? This is, as you spoke about earlier, through the supersets. Everything is going to be concentric, eccentric then. We're never, we're always getting the best benefits. So flexibility is great. If I knew what I knew now or I knew 16 years ago, I would have been doing yoga all my life. I wish it was. It's the best thing I could ever do. I tell people all the time, if there was one thing that you could only do and nothing else, it would be yoga, because there is no end to yoga. Yoga is a constant battle. You cannot beat yoga. You cannot reach a certain, like you can get so big or you can get so strong or you can get so fit or whatever it is. Yoga's a never-ending journey. You can't get to the end of it. There's so many different forms and there's so many different styles and there's so many asanas and there's so much to achieve. It's impossible. You cannot beat yoga, right? So, and the benefits are just amazing, for the mind, for the body, for the breath, for recovery, recuperation, for switching off this crazy monkey mind and to help us relax and just to bring things, allow things to happen,
As you say that, would you have ever thought that those words would come out of your mouth when you were back in your bodybuilding days? In 20 years' time, I'm going to be on a podcast telling people that yoga is the only thing that they need.
No, I suppose not. 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
But I kind of always had a little bit of I don't like to use the word spiritual. I always had a little bit of something in my head. I always felt different. I was never one to go with the system. I was always a bit of a rebel. I always made my own rules and always decided, like with, you know, improving my health and deciding that I don't trust doctors. I don't call them a doctors, I call them a quack. They work for the government, they give you pharmaceuticals, and the people that are giving you the rubbish food and McDonald's and Kentucky and all of these things and all that junk food in the supermarkets, it's the same people that own the pharmaceutical companies, right? So the world's set up to keep you sick.
Yep.
But if it come to me knowing that, would I have said that years ago? No, of course not, because we only know what we know and we don't know what we don't know, right? And until we try it, most people look at me. I work in Udara, one of the biggest and best yoga centers in Bali, right? And mindfulness, meditation, and sound healing, and all of these things. People come to my class and they see me, and the average person or the girl looks and they're like, who's this guy? You know, he's going to teach me yoga?
This bodybuilder guy?
Yeah, this guy with these muscles, like, what the hell? And 90% of the time, everyone's leaving saying, my God, Douglas, thank you. We had such an amazing class. And wow, we can't believe your flexibility, you know, and what you've taught us about breathing and the mind and releasing resistance and letting go of control and trusting gravity and trusting the process and trusting the flow, you know. It's so for me, it's everything about that. This is why my workouts and my clients' workouts start with some basic foundational yoga, and they end with some basic foundational yoga or some stretching, if I don't stretch them physically, which I normally do. And in between, it's getting the most productivity out, right? But for me, yoga is life, you know. God bless yoga. I'm so grateful for it.
When did you start?
16 years ago.
Okay.
16 years ago now, I was introduced to yoga and a bit more mindfulness and the universe and laws of the universe, all these things, around 16 years ago now, which is not such a long time ago, considering I'm 50, but it feels like a lifetime ago now, and I could never go backwards. You know, you can't undo what you know.
So you started at 34, and I'm 33. So that's yeah.
Yeah. I always say life begins at 40. At 20, we think we know it all. At 30, we think we know it all. And when we come to 40, we start to realize that we maybe didn't know quite as much as we thought we did. And then we can start to evolve. I'm 50 now. I feel like I'm coming into fruition. I'm probably the best version I've ever been of me. Mind, body, spirit, physically, mentally. Yeah, I've won a championship at 45 and the Miami Pro Universe champion, you know, and been shredded to the bone and striated and stuff like that. But this was different. This was a different need and a different want. I kind of done with that now, and now it's about giving love to others and showing them how you can achieve greatness, how you can be shredded, how you can gain safe, lean quality muscle, how you can be healthy, how you can eliminate sickness and illness. You know, this is my passion. As I said to you earlier, I think, you know, I have nothing to teach. I only have knowledge to share, love to give.
Right.
Because I feel like I finally found my purpose. Working with Darko also and being in Bali has helped to humble me and realize that all I want to do is see others evolve and see others be better and other people to feel stronger and fitter and healthier and, more importantly, happier. Because everyone thinks it's about, you know, being so great, looking great, and having this picture on Instagram, and, you know, having all of this money. And this money's beautiful. It's nice to help support a nicer life, so we can do something like live in Bali and have a good life. But I think happiness and health is most important. The richest people in the world, when they get sick, they'll give away every penny to be healthy again, right? And so if we focus more on happiness and health, I think the wealth will naturally come if we do things that we like with a passion. So I think, you know, stop putting yourself under stress, people, you know. Do what you love. Listen to your soul and live a healthier, happier life for you. Because not for me or no one else. There's no one to please. There's only you to give that love to, right?
It's easier said than done, though, isn't it? To stop putting stress on yourself. Because, I mean, so many people, that's probably the biggest issue that I see with all the people that I've coached is stress. People just can't, they don't know how to rest.
Yeah.
It's go, go, go. It's like, I need to hustle. I'm always busy. I'm busy. You know? But
in the end, it catches up, right?
Yeah.
Same as anything.
Yeah.
Training. I'm going harder, I'm going heavy, I'm going intensively. You got an injury, you're out. you need rehabilitation, you need time off. Now you've gained weight again and you're depressed and you're sad and miserable. Anything of too much is no good, right? Pushing, achieving, gaining, more. In the end, you're going to burn out. In the end, you're going to explode. I think there's got to be, I've had 3 kids, I've had the mortgage, I've had the business. You know, I've been a manager of multi-billion-pound companies, 47 staff, 7 departments. I come from project and development management in some big international companies. And I've worked hard and I've achieved things, and I decided that I want financial freedom, and so I decided to do things for myself. And later on, as you know, learn to become a coach and trainer, and a #1 coach in London, highly, you know, quite known well, and being a big coach. And then I just chose to do things differently. I opened up my own health club, 2,000 square meter health club, which is very successful and open to this day in Playa Blanca, Lanzarote. It was called Cambia Forma then. Yeah. It's called Garage Gym now. Guy passed the lease over, and the manager of the gym is now the owner. But it's still, that's under the roof of me, you know, my name. I created that. I built that with love and passion. But I realized it was a dream and it was a goal and a passion. But then I achieved that and I realized I don't have to hold on to this. I've done it now. Thank you. Give it away. Let someone else give it some love. Now I'm going to go and evolve and do the things that I want to do. Like come to Bali. Or first of all, it was go to Ibiza for 2.5 years to see what was there and if I could find something. And I did find something. And that was teaching and coaching again and doing yoga. And continuing doing personal training, which is at Nirvana Beach Fitness, rather than actual Nirvana Fitness Beach. And I work with some great people there. And so everything is evolution, you know. I had the business, I had the money, I had the credit card, I had the fast car, I had that, you know, I had all these things, and I wanted more, and I wanted the health club, and I wanted gym. I was a #1 coaching trainer making lots of money in London, Westfield Gym Box. And it just like, I'm burnt out. The more money I make, the more I want, the better house I want, the better car I want, the more flashy clothes I want, the more I need. But I realized that I wasn't satisfied, I wasn't fulfilled. So I gave up, things like that. And everyone said, you're crazy. You're the #1 coach here. You're training more clients than anyone. You're making more money than anyone. You're teaching more classes than anyone. And you want to leave? I said, yeah. I want to go to Lanzarote and open up my own health club because I feel like I need to do that. And I done it. And I had it for 2.5 years. And I says, okay, thank you. I don't want this anymore. I'm going. Someone take it off me, please. And so that's okay. You know, you don't have to feel like when you've got something and you've achieved it, you have to hold on to it and hold on to it and hold on to it. This is it. This is my security. I need to hold this because when I get older, I need money and I need a pension. Well, life is not guaranteed to nobody, right? Are we going to, if we're lucky enough to get to an age where we can achieve a pension and sit back and enjoy life? Most of the time you're already too old, unhealthy, fit, or you've got cancer, diabetes or something where you can't enjoy life at 60 or 65 anymore. So I think life is about living at the moment, right?
But people stay in jobs like what you had because they have golden handcuffs, right? It's like, I'll stay because the money's great. You know, I want to do this, but, you know, the money's great here, so I'm going to stay here. That's what a lot of people do that. So but you weren't going to fall into that trap.
No, I never was going to fall into that trap. I've always been very confident and a rebel, you know. If I'm at a job and I love it, I'll give my 100% and be the best I can do there and achieve what I need to achieve. But as soon as I feel like I'm not happy here anymore, or the boss is becoming an asshole, I'm out. I'm out because there's nothing there for me anymore. I'm gone because there wasn't a fear. And of course, things are a little bit more difficult nowadays because there's not so many jobs. But more and more people have become financially free. And through the pandemic, I think there's more people than ever that become, you know, entrepreneurs and people working online. During the pandemic, I decided I'm not going to be an online coach because I'm pretty anti-social media and I'm anti-mobile phone, and I post on Instagram, but I never sit there and look at anyone's story. If I open Instagram and something happens to be there, I might have a look if it's someone of interest or something of interest, but otherwise I don't spend time doing that. I'm spending time making music in my studio, as a passion,
yeah.
or I'm listening to music just to listen to and be ecstatic, or I'm just sitting down chilling, or I'm cooking, or I'm eating, or I'm listening to a guru. That's how I spend my time. Or I'm at Udara giving love to the people that come to the classes and helping people with nutrition and physical therapy, or I'm training my clients. That's it. After that, I'm running home to get away from the noise and the traffic and the jibber jabber, you know. And yeah, it's just I think everything's a choice.
Yeah.
You know, quality over quantity. At the end of the day, all these things that people want is because they think that by having it is going to make them happy. And then once they get it and they realize they're not happy, and then they're not happy, but they've got it and they've got money and they've got this big house and a flash car, and then at Friday, and they've got this office job, and Friday they're going out, drinking and doing drugs and cocaine and all kinds of stuff to escape the life that they're living, which they thought would give them happiness. And why do I know this? Because I've been there and I've done it. I also come from alcoholism as well. So, you know, it's a very popular story, and I have compassion for people because I've been there, you know. And I've had that office job, and I've had 3 adult children, I've had the mortgage, and I've done that, but then I decided no. I took my kids to Canary Islands in 1999, and I decided that I didn't want that life for them, and I wanted to show them an island life. My son, my youngest, is 21 now. He was 1 month old when I took him to Lanzarote, Playa Blanca, Canary Islands. So it's all different. I don't think anyone should think like me. I just think that people should think a little bit more about having a quality of life, having a stronger, healthier, fitter body, and living. Because if you knew you was going to die next week, would you be doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, I would.
You would.
I would.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people wouldn't.
True.
You know, and you don't want to think about dying. Nobody wants to die. But if we knew if we knew the world was going to end in 6 months' time, would anybody be where they was? Would you stay in your job and you live the life that you're living? You would say, okay, let's do things differently, you know? And so I just think it's that. I've seen so many people, all of my very, very, very best friends that I grew up with from kids that I loved, that are like this with me, that I would put in the bed with my wife, they're already dead.
Wow.
All of them.
Really?
Overdose, drugs, suicide, all of these things, cancer. Yeah. They're dead. All of my very, very best friends are already gone. So I've seen this over the years, and I've said, do I want to end up like that? Do I want to overdose? Do I want to die from a heart attack? Do I want to get cancer? Do I want to be a multi-millionaire like my friend Richard Horner was and open up these big companies and then end up dying on a boat from overdose of drugs? Like, do I want to do these things? Am I going to learn from it, or am I going to follow that? Am I going to be sick? Am I going to follow the habits of my mum and dad to end up ill and with angina and with, you know, diabetes and all these problems? If I follow those trends, of course I'm going to. People say this is ancestral. This is, what do you call it? You know, this is a trait of the family. Or my father had a heart attack. So
hereditary.
Hereditary. I don't believe in hereditary. I don't believe in it. You're at a higher risk maybe if someone in the family had something.
Yep.
But if you carry on doing the same stupid things, and you keep drinking alcohol, and you keep eating McDonald's,
yep,
and you keep eating chocolate and sweets and biscuits, the chances could be high for anyone to have that problem, right? So
yeah,
everything is a choice and a decision.
Yep.
In life, with your mind, with your body.
The hereditary thing is interesting because that's just, when I hear that, I'm just like, because before I came into this industry, I didn't know, I wasn't aware. So I would just believe people when they said that.
Yeah.
But then as I learned about nutrition and health and all these habits and stuff like that, like living this healthy lifestyle like you and I do, I realized that, wow, if someone's diabetic, if your mum's type 2 diabetic and you think that's hereditary, you're just not aware of the things you can do to reverse type 2 diabetes. That's what the problem. Yeah. Just lacking awareness.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are type 2 diabetic and going on to type 1 or vice versa.
Yep.
It's insulin resistance it starts with, and we don't know that. And there can be symptoms that underline that we don't know. But if we're in touch with the body, we would know.
Yep.
It all comes down to insulin resistance,
Yep.
you know, and this comes from eating too much refined foods and sugars, and there's sugar in everything. Everything. And this is a big part of what I teach, you know. People don't realize, if I give you a cup of sugar, white sugar, most people will look at that and say, well, I know that's bad, I shouldn't eat it. Now I give you a bowl of white pasta or white rice, Balinese rice, just the normal refined stuff, and I say eat that, you think that's okay. Or a slice of white bread, that's okay, that's food. There's no difference. When it comes to insulin and how your body responds to that food, there is no difference. The sugar is actually more friendly than the rice or pasta in one way or another, because your body can actually put that into the blood more or less and deal with it easier than this pasta and white rice and bread going into your body and raising glucose and in sugar, high amounts of sugar into the blood and raising insulin and this cortisol effect. It's a big difference, and we overeat so easily, you know. Each one of these carbohydrates, there's what we call a glycemic index, which is a scale of, you know, let's say 0 or 10 to 115. Well, fructose corn syrup is 115, which is the biggest killer, or what goes into all of this packet, box foods, processed foods. This is what keeps us going to the pharmaceutical companies for drugs and, you know, seeing doctors. And then there's carbohydrates that are low, medium, and high in GL, or this means glycemic index, GL, glucose. It's a control on how these foods load into your body and how they're perceived. We can sit and eat a bowl of rice or pasta, or sit and eat a few slices of bread, or whatever it might be, and we think that's okay, but there's only a certain amount of these things we should eat, and there's certain things that are going to affect us more. But if we eat sweet potatoes, and if we eat oats, and if we eat quinoa, things like this, the effects is very different. They have low amount of carbohydrates, and the insulin levels is not going crazy, and glucose not crazy. So these are the simple things that we need to understand more of, that people don't understand. There's not enough information about it. They just tell you you're gluten intolerant, and you know, let's do this, and don't eat sweets and biscuits. Well, I think everyone knows that by now. What we don't understand is what foods are good and what not. I'll give you a simple example. 100 grams of potato is 20 grams of carbohydrates. 100 grams of pasta is 80 to 90 grams of carbohydrates. 100 grams of pasta cooked is 180 grams, roughly, with the water absorption. An average bowl of pasta is around 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates. You do the calculations. 100 grams, 200 to 300 grams in weight, sorry. So you do the calculations, we're talking about 120 to 150 grams of carbs in one bowl of pasta. But someone, even my weight, 86 kilos, I probably need a maximum of around 40 grams of carbs in one sitting. So I'm tripling what I eat in one portion. This could happen all day long, you know.
So you're low carb then, now?
I'm control carb. And now if I want to have a bowl of pasta, I'll have a bowl of pasta. But I'm not having a bowl of pasta every day, and I'm not having it all day. I'm just having a bowl of pasta, and that's going to be classed as a little bit of a cheat meal, as we said earlier. I love a lasagna.
Yeah.
And lasagna's got loads of meat in it. Well, it does when we make it. And it's only got a few layers of thin pasta, rather than having a bowl of pasta. So I'm getting lots of protein from some beef, and that creatine and all of this goodness, with a small thin layer of amount of pasta in there. So it's how you do it, right? And this is for me a treat. If we don't call it a cheat, let's call it a treat. And in general, I'm eating quinoa, and again, white, red or black, it's going to be different amounts of fiber and carbohydrates in it as well. 100 grams of quinoa has around 35 to 40 grams of carbs, but it's higher fiber and it has a lower glycemic rate and low GL, and it's higher in protein as well. 100 grams of quinoa only has 7 grams of protein, but this is super high quality. All of the branched chain amino acids exist in that. It's actually a higher quality than chicken or things like this in quinoa. Doesn't mean we sit around eating quinoa all day long. Of course, we're going to end up with too much carbohydrates, but it's simple things, understanding these things. You know, if 100 grams of potato is only 20 grams of carbs, you can get away with eating 200 grams of potato because you're only eating 40 grams of carbs, right? And again, it depends on how you make it. If you make mashed potato, you're breaking it down and it becomes less fibrous, and so the difference, you have a jacket potato with the skin on, now you're keeping things more in there, and it's the glycemic load is different, so the response is different. Eating oats, in 100 gram of oats, there's 60 gram of carbohydrates, but there's high fiber and small amounts of protein in there as well, so it's going to break down slower. I only need 50 grams of oats for my body weight, 86 kilos. 50 grams of oats is about 4 tablespoons. So it's some simple ideas of things.
So do you prescribe everyone to do what you're doing with your nutrition? How do you do it?
No, I don't prescribe everyone to do what I'm doing. I help them to understand Optimum Nutrition, the glycemic index, the glycemic load, the contents of amounts of carbohydrates in all the different carbohydrates, and the good ones, starting with the good, going to low. So anything from 10 to 30, 40 is we're talking about cruciferous vegetables, dark leafy greens, high in fiber. This is going to be a slower carbohydrate and lower in carbohydrates. Then we come into the quinoa, and we come into the oats, and a apple, plum or pear, berries. They're more lower in the glycemic, and they're more cruciferous, and they have more fiber, soluble and insoluble fibers, and so they're much more friendlier to the body. If you think about eating and crunching on an apple, a nice juicy green bittersweet apple, the benefits are there. They used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? Well, I say a grapefruit a day keeps the doctor away, but this is going to break down and digest and release enzymes and give fiber to the body, to those good friendly bacteria in the body, let's say. Fiber is what the good bacteria eats. We have about 100 million cells in our body. We have 10 billion cells in our body, more or less, let's say. I couldn't tell you the exact amount, but we have 100 billion good bacteria in the stomach, and the good bacteria want to eat fiber. And so lots of fibers good for them, good bacteria, prebiotics, probiotics, priming the body, ready to absorb the nutrients and vitamins and micronutrients and stuff like that. So it's eating the right foods and eating a controlled amount, eating small, keeping it simple.
How do you stay consistent? You've been doing this for more than 30 years. How do you stay so consistent with this?
I'm not always consistent, but I am and I'm not. I try to keep things in control, and if I let things get out of hand and I've taken some time off, like now I've just had 7 weeks off the gym. I haven't lifted a weight for 7 weeks. Wow. But I've been focused more on my classes, teaching more classes, working more with the Dara. Still practice yoga regularly and teaching more classes. Beach boot camp, aerial yoga I teach, the mindfulness power yoga. So I'm more busy with doing those things, and then I'm training my clients. I'm getting a bit of movement and demonstrating, but I'm not working. But that was just because my body decided I wanted a little rest. But my body knows that. I'm not just going to disappear and lose muscle overnight. But with coming away from training, you tend to change your eating habits a little bit more, and you're not so conscious about eating as clean as you might normally. And that's okay, but as long as I don't let it go too far and start letting myself totally go to pot and, start becoming, overweight again and letting my health come bad, that's okay. My body needs to have a rest sometimes, and I try to listen to that. But I keep my consistency by having them simple habits of eating relatively regularly, of the right foods, making sure I have my olive oil, my walnuts, and my coconut, and my, all these simple things, avocado, and all of these things on a daily basis to keep the healthy fats in, and then keeping my carbs of a good form, eating that quinoa, eating sweet potatoes, having the right sort of foods, and then eating small amounts. When I go and eat rice, I say, just so they give me a small amount of rice, a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want this big portion of rice and have that sugar crash and start affecting my body, because that one sugar crash and that one big portions of 300 grams of rice is going to make my body crave more and more and more and more and more. And then making sure I get some good protein in and trying to keep things as clean as I can. And always having that treat meal every week. and that can be as naughty as you like.
So that's just one off?
No, I keep that religiously. Even when I was prepping for competition,
Yep.
strictest nutrition you could ever think of, eating clean, but eating high calories of good foods, healthy fats and proteins, and controlled good amounts of clean carbs. Even throughout my whole prep, if it was 12-week prep, every Wednesday was a cheat meal and every Sunday was a cheat day. I never stopped that for the whole 12 weeks because people do things too strict and they end up doing the wrong things at the end, and they end up not being in the shape they actually want to on stage, for example, because they've dieted, they've dropped calories, they've been in a big deficit, and they're increasing the intensity of their training. If I am on 3,000 calories, I'm on 3,000 calories. Nothing's going to change from week 1 to week 12. All I'm doing is increasing the intensity and volume of my workouts. I go from a superset to a double superset to a triple superset to a triple superset with a drop set. I'm shredded, I'm ready to compete. I'll actually increase my calories. I might start at 3,000 and end up on 4,000 calories. 6 meals of 500 calories breaks down. Just 3,000 calories roughly, right? So I'll increase that, maybe go to 8 snacks a day. My body's doing the work. My training, lifting 70% of a 1 rep max for double superset, triple superset at high intensity and high volume. I'm shredded. I don't need to go on diets. I don't want to eat 1,500 calories and work out and burn 1,000 when the body burns 1,000 calories a day just for the brain and heart to work. This is the biggest mistake. Diets don't work. The Atkins didn't work. The Duncans didn't work. Fruit diets didn't work. Juice diets don't work. Keto can work, but it's not sustainable because your body's going to want to crave that pizza or that pasta and that bread, and it's going to put you on a rocky slope to keep you wanting more and more and more and more. I've seen it happen, and I'm sure we all know someone who's tried it. I think one of the best things for sustainability is intermittent fasting. So that's 16, 18-hour window. Anything from 16 hours is classed as fast. So we wake up, breaking the fast. Breakfast, we break the fast. I tend to try to eat my last meal around 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and then I won't have my first meal till around, depending, 11, 12 o'clock, roughly. And in the morning, trying to keep the body clean and alkalizing. I'm not always practicing what I preach, and at this moment in time, I can hold my hands up and admit that I'm probably not doing everything that I would normally do, because I've had I'm at work at 6:30 in the morning to teach my classes and stuff like that. And I've not been at the gym, but the morning jamu, ginger, lemon, turmeric, and having that apple cider vinegar, the good biological, non-filtered, non-pasteurized stuff with the mother, having a slice of grapefruit a day or half a grapefruit in the Western. Grapefruit's here the size of a football, right? So you can't eat half one of those. Them simple things on a daily basis. Intermittent fasting will keep you going and really, help the body. If you're older, at an older age like me, around 50s, your testosterone levels are low. Compound exercise with intermittent fasting is the best way to naturally raise testosterone levels and growth hormone levels. Scientifically proven. I mean, people can check that out on Google and study it.
Yeah, because that's something I was going to get into is, if you're over the age of 40, you're a guy, and testosterone's in the toilet,
Absolutely.
That's one thing they can do. It's just intermittent fast, strength train, and eat a nutrient-dense food. It's very simple. Nutrient-dense
food.
Right?
Protein, most importantly, for that cell replacement, cell replenishment, recovery, recuperation. But those healthy fats are for the brain, for the heart, for the body, for protection, for lubrication. You wouldn't drive your car without oil in it, right? It's going to get stiff.
And the sleep too, right? Sleep is huge.
Sleep is massive.
Yeah.
I have less sleep than I used to have. I'm 6 to 7 hours a day now, roughly. But getting 7 to 8 hours is good. They kind of say, from the different scientifically tests and studies, they say 8 hours is a good amount of sleep to have for someone in an older range. When you get over that 40 stage, when things start to go downhill, when your testosterone levels, you really start to feel the testosterone levels dropping. No, I don't recover and repair and heal like I used to. When I was younger, you do what you want, you lift what you want, you push what you want, you can go crazy and party, and you still recover,
Yeah.
I can't do that now. So yeah, nutrition is key. And recovery and repair is really important, you know, and I think that intermittent fasting, it really does help. Compound, doing them deadlifts, doing them heavy lifts safely, listening to your body.
That's a key word there, because the most people, well, over the age of 40, male and female, I suppose especially male, like most of the men I've experienced and witnessed, they have back issues already before the deadlift. So then doing a deadlift for those guys is not a good idea, even because they have a bad back, or they're doing it with bad form because they have a bad back.
Yeah.
You know? So what would you recommend for those people?
Well, simple things like, obviously, as I'm sure most of us know now, but simple things like plank, high plank, low plank, side plank. These are the best things to get the core and the transverse abdominis connected. And these also support the spine. You know, the core is intertwining muscles like a spider web of muscles inside your body that go from the spine into the ribs and hold your internal organs also. So a weak core is going to weaken the spine, and it's also going to give us a stretched belly and let everything hang down further and loose. And so simple things like these things, static isometric holds, holding the plank for longer times, 10 seconds flat, 10 seconds side, 10 seconds side. Little things like that are simple things to work with. I say more than abdominal exercises, you know, staying away from sit-ups and these old-fashioned things, because they actually hurt the back and don't really engage the core. And a lot of times, even the leg raises, if they're done correctly and safely and really effectively, a lot of the times you're using hip flexors more than the actual abdominals, you know. So there's many things. I don't want to bore you and go into them all, but starting with that, strengthening your core, strengthening your lower back through the core exercises and, you know, isometric stuff, holding, stabilizing, breathing, contracting, squeezing, getting that mind-muscle connection. And then we can start with deadlifts, but we start very lightly and slowly with good technique. Deadlift is great for strengthening your lower back, but done incorrectly is one of the most dangerous things in the world for your lower back, right? So good mornings, good for your lower back. Most people don't even know what a good morning is. They think that's just something you say to people when the sun comes up, right?
Yep. Good
mornings is a very safe and good exercise to do if done correctly and safely. It doesn't have to be heavy. It's just about that connection with the lower back. Romanian deadlifts is also using your lower back as well as the hamstring. And stiff hamstrings is also always going to affect your lower back as well. Yep. Stiff glutes, sciatica.
Pigeon pose, right?
Pigeon pose.
I had sciatica, by the way. Did I tell you that?
Absolutely.
I had sciatica 3 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
Here in Bali, and I couldn't walk for a month. It was excruciating, man. I did the Wim Hof during it, actually. It was like a electric shock down my leg.
Yeah.
And it was piriformis pushing against my nerve because of too much squats and lack of external rotation. So the piriformis muscle was working too much. Yeah. Got inflamed. Yeah. So what do you recommend? Because someone maybe who's got sciatica, I know you do rehabilitation. Yeah. What kind of movements do you recommend people do for that?
Well, again, it's trying to keep that balance of the yin and the yang, and trying to keep some level of flexibility throughout your training, no matter what type of training you're doing. Now, for all the benefits that we spoke about already, you know, and for the range of movement, for recovery, recuperation, repair, doing some active resting and doing some stretching. But it's really, the main things is always going to be hamstrings, glutes, and hip flexors. They're, in my opinion and my experience, they're the three things that are going to be the tightest. Now, with squats and all this pushing and all of this stuff that we do, that yang forward front stuff, it's going to make things tight, and we're going to create imbalances from pushing harder, from trying that F45 workout, from trying that CrossFit, and from mixing it up with maybe a martial arts, especially jiu-jitsu. You know, we can really hurt and damage our body. And so one little imbalance is going to create, our body wants to compensate in other places. And so keeping some level of flexibility, trying to practice some form of yoga is great, but not everyone, especially the macho guys, don't want to do yoga. I'm pretty macho, I'm a man. but I love yoga, I do it. This is not a lady thing, you know.
No.
Most guys don't do it because they try it and they say it's too bloody hard, but they don't want to tell no one that. They just want to run away from it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Stretching your hamstrings once you're warm, stretching your glutes, and having a little bit of hip flexor stretching movement around that lower part of the body is really, really, really going to help. But again, at the same time, it's both the yin and the yang. You know, we want to try to have strong hamstrings as well. Everything is done, and mostly we push and we squat and we leg extension, but there's not enough posterior stuff done. Yeah. You know, everything is frontal. Everything is that yang, and so strength and flexibility go hand in hand, in my professional opinion. But we want to try to have more yin and have more flexibility if we can. So I think this will minimize problems in everyone's lives if they worked on flexibility just a little bit more, really, you know.
So do you advise stretching every day for people?
I don't recommend overstretching, and I don't recommend too much of anything is no good. I just recommend trying to have balance, trying to find time, like we spoke about, making your workouts more productive to achieve the goal you want to achieve. And if that's, you know, toning up and being fitter and stronger and looking good and having a physique, then work harder, more intensively, more volume with good technique and posture and mindfulness, and brace that core. But work on that flexibility more. Spend time to stretch yourself at the end of your workouts, because it's for you, it's not for no one else. You know, there's always somewhere to go and always something else to do, but if you want longevity and if you want something to be sustainable, don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait to have a physio or physical therapist. Don't wait till you're 50 years old and start yoga when you're already in pain, you know. Think about the solution now, because life's too short, and if you care about yourself, then I think it's you only owe it to yourself to do those things, you know. And it can be just simple stuff. You don't have to become a yogi, you know. It's just doing some simple practices, learning some simple things. If they don't ask me and they're in Bali, they come and ask me. They can come and ask you. You've learned lots of beautiful things. I met you at Nirvana, where it's all about flexibility and mobility and all of these things as well, you know. So there's lots of great places around here. And practice. Try and minimize the risk of the problem coming later. Try to be, you know, mindful.
But that's the sad thing, though. Most people wait until it's too late, or until it's very late.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to reverse the effects of the injuries and problems that you got. To rehabilitate can take a long time. Rehabilitative physical therapy exercises are quite boring. They're quite, you know, most people don't continue their therapy or continue their exercises, physical therapy at home, because they find it too boring and too repetitive and too, it's like, oh no, forget that. Oh, I feel better now. Let's get back to the gym. Let's go back out and run again. But the injury's going to come back because you didn't get to the root of the matter. So, you know, try to make that not happen, you know. Just a little bit of mindfulness, that's all it is. It doesn't hurt to spend 5 minutes at the end of the gym to have a little stretch, right? The prime time to stretch your hamstrings and quads and hip flexors is after doing legs. After a workout, that's how I really started to get that flexibility, was after I'd done some good, strong Romanian deadlifts, I'm going to stretch the hell out of my hamstrings. That's when I'm going into the squats. Start with my hands on some dumbbells and slowly work myself down until the dumbbells are over my head and my balls are to the ground, you know. Slowly. Breathing it out, relaxing. It's a form of meditation, just to give yourself calm down. A little cool down can be to have a little stretch at the end of the workout, right? If you haven't got time and you're really using that excuse, active stretching throughout your workouts.
Yeah, that's a really powerful tip, because that's what I'm doing now. My training is active stretching in between rest periods. I learned that from Ash, actually.
Okay, yeah. Ash is an absolutely awesome coach.
Yeah, so for people listening, they need to just focus on their health more. I mean, there's so many people that I've spoke to that are smart people, but they just don't train. Everyone knows they should train, but they just don't.
Yeah.
And it's the craziest thing to me, because now that I'm in it, like 6 years of being in it, I realize how much time I was wasting not working out before because of my beliefs and stories about people that do work out. I was like, oh, they live in the gym. I'd look at you 6 years ago, be like, oh, that guy lives in the gym. He's probably got no life. He just lives in the gym 5 hours a day. I can't do that. I'm not prepared to do that. So it was easier for me to judge than actually do it.
Yeah, well, it's a common thing, you know. People do have these ideas and beliefs and thoughts, but you really don't have to spend a lot of time.
Yeah,
you just training 3 times a week for 30-45 minutes is proven that you can get some real great benefits from that. You know, to be a bodybuilder, to be great and have big muscles doesn't really take time. I was at my biggest and strongest doing 3 hours a week of training, 2 body parts, 45 minutes. Damn. 3 hours a week.
That's impressive.
4 times 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
It's the 23 hours of what you do away from that is how you achieve.
Yeah.
This is how you lose the fat. This is how you gain the muscle. Quality, not quantity. And
that's a mindset in and of itself, because to have the discipline to adhere to your nutrition plan, right, that takes a lot. That's like a job. It literally is like a job.
Yeah.
And you have to take it seriously. Same with your sleep.
Yeah. But to achieve anything, we need to take it seriously. Absolutely, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be financially free, you want to be a professional boxer, anything you want to do, you have to take seriously, that's right? True, and so people take a lot of things seriously, but don't take their health and their body and their mind seriously, you know?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I feel like a broken record, actually. You asked how I was earlier today, and that's how I feel, actually. I just feel like a broken record, man. I'm repeating this stuff, and it's like, that's why I'm just like, oh God, I've got to say this stuff again. Like, these people don't give a fuck about their health, man. That's how I feel.
Well, at one time or another, we are all, or they are all, going to have to think about their health.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a shame if you have to wait till it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. It can be hard, but it's just a little bit of forward planning and preparation, deciding to want to learn, losing the pride and ego and saying, actually, I maybe don't know quite as much as I thought I did. I'm not just going to keep following every other person on YouTube and Instagram, and I want to find out some basics, and I want to try to live a little bit healthier and make some better choices, and forward plan and preparation, you know, make meals. You don't have to sit around prepping food all day. People think, oh my God, you got to do this, you got to eat so many meals, you got to prep your food. You just make dinner for 6 people, if it's for 2, and you put some in a Tupperware dish and you have that for tomorrow. You make 2 portions of breakfast and you chuck it in something, or, you know, it's just doing simple things. It's extra preparation, it's forward planning a little bit. I used to work a 9-to-5 job, and I'd prep all my food for the day and take it out and have that done in the evening. I'd cook extra in the morning while I'm having a shower and, you know, waiting for my porridge to cook. I've got some chicken and sweet potatoes in the oven cooking at the time. Then I'm going to leave work and go. You know, it's just a little bit of forward prepping and planning, that's all, you know. Don't make 1 portion, make 5, make 6, put it in a Tupperware dish, put it in the freezer. We are quite lucky in Bali, we can just order Gojek, although, you know, everyone has these different apps, but we can choose some better food here for a little bit of a more affordable price. So of course it depends where you are in the world, but we can always find it. If we don't thinking about things now, if we don't think about health now, we're gonna have to think about illness later, right?
Yep.
And that's up to the guys. I don't tell anyone to do anything. I try to offer tools, offer some professional, proven scientific, you know, understanding of food and exercise, and there's a tool. I give you the tool. Do you want to use it or not? I can't make you do nothing. I can't change anyone. I can only change myself, and I can try to be an example and help people to see things a little bit differently. And if you look at things differently, then things start to change, right? And then you feel better, and you look better, and you achieve better. And then you say, wow, I should have done this before. Wow, I wish I knew this before, you know? That's the way I see it.
Cool. And So as we close, is there any other things that we didn't share, that you didn't get to share, that you want to share? Any message that you want to leave with people? Because, you know, there's just to give you an idea of people watching, they're aged between 30 and 60 years old, and they're looking at you and they're inspired maybe at this point in the conversation. They're like, wow, I want to be like you.
No, you don't want to be like me. You want to be the best that you can be. And so that's all I ever say. All we want to be is the best version of ourselves. The challenge and the battle is you versus you. We got nothing to prove. We got nothing to justify to anybody except ourselves. Don't listen to too many people, you know. Do what you feels good for you, but try to give self-love. It's about loving yourself more. You don't have to follow everyone else. You don't have to copy everyone else. You don't have to be like everyone else. Being your authentic, original self is the best thing you could ever be. And that's where you find where you are, who you want to be, right? And trying to make some small changes, taking that slice of bread out, taking that make small little steps. Small steps end up being a big change, right? And so I think that's where it should start. You know, don't go extreme, everything or nothing. I'm a bit of an all or nothing person, but that's because I'll eat the whole packet of biscuits, not one, you know, like it's like that, but I'm not going to buy a packet of biscuits every day. So it's doing small little steps in the right direction. And when you don't know, really try to find the answer professionally. Don't just look at the fad and the latest trend. Everyone's looking for this magic pill that's going to give you the magic results. It doesn't exist. It's about learning, understanding, and putting those things into practice safely and effectively. If you don't know, ask, you know, but try to ask the right person. And just know that I think you can achieve anything you want. There's no such thing as can't, you know, impossible. The word itself has the word possible, right? If someone like me can come from obesity, sickness, asthma, migraines, chest infections, allergy, all of these things, to being a professional fitness champion, a #1 coach and trainer, an author, a yoga coach, mind, body, spirit coach. You know, if I can do these things and have 3 kids and a mortgage and all of these things in between, then anybody can do it. This is not because I was given something on a plate or I was lucky. I chose these things. I chose to change the way I see things, you know, and I believe anybody can do this. It's just a matter of mindset, you know, and so love yourself more. That's all anybody has to do. Choose differently. Don't use the excuses of, but this, but that, but my mum and dad had this, oh, this is the life I've been given. Anybody can choose the life that they want, right? I come from Hounslow in Middlesex, which is not the nicest place in the world, but I chose my life, and I chose that for my kids, and I chose them, and I installed the healthy habits to them as well also. My son is a coach and trainer, my daughter is a yogi, my youngest boy is a rugby basketball player. They've all got bodies, they all go to the gym, they all exercise, and they eat good, but they enjoy food when they want to as well, because I've installed that into them. I didn't say, come on, have the Coca-Cola, eat the rubbish, let's get McDonald's. I did sometimes. Good sausage and egg McMuffin on a Sunday morning was, you know, so it's just making some good choices, man.
What are you most proud of in your life so far?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm proud of the idea that I taught my children some good habits, that they now, my daughter's a yogi and, you know, peace and love hippie chick, and my youngest son plays rugby and basketball and eats healthy and looks fit and strong. They go to the gym as well. My eldest son, Joshua, 31, is JD Bodies. He's a coach and trainer, very successful now, and he wants to do his first competition. So I'm proud of that. I feel like I've installed some goodness into them. And at 50 years old, they still look up to me and say, wow, Dad, you know, show us. I want to get on a competition. How do I get shredded? Like, what are your training ideas? But I'm just proud of myself for not allowing myself to follow the crowd and keep doing drinking and drugs and escaping reality and distracting myself all these stupid things because I was living a life that I didn't enjoy. I decided to make those decisions. So I'm proud of myself for changing, for choosing. And, you know, I'm very grateful, and I thank God every single day of the year, 365 days a year, that I'm alive, because every day is a blessing and a gift. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So while I'm here, I try to do the best I can. And I try to share and care and give the love and support to other people, you know, and give as much information to everyone that comes into contact with me, anyone that knows me, any of my clients, people I meet on a daily basis at Udara, the guests. I give love to everyone and I help them in any way I can, because I feel like that's what I'm here for, you know. So I think I'm proud of that.
That's nice. And what do you, I ask every guest this question, by the way. What is the meaning of life in your own words?
In my own words, I think it's to live a life worth living,
Yep.
you know, without regret. The past is the past, living in the moment. The past is no longer there. Yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow will be today. And so being here now and enjoying every moment and cherishing it, because it's not guaranteed to us all. As we've all lost somebody through diabetes, cancer, heart attack, death, suicide, drugs. We all know someone like that, you know, and so it's living a life worth living. And the biggest mistake that most people have, I think, is thinking they got time. Having time. It's all right. We got time. We do that later. We'll stretch later. We'll do the rehab later. We'll eat better later. We'll retire later. Like, when's later? When's later? Sometimes, often, later is too late, right? So I think they're the main things that come to mind.
Thinking we got time, yes.
Yeah.
That's so damn true, man.
Not guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed.
When you described how you spend your time, what I was hearing in that is a lot of activities that bring you into presence.
Absolutely. I wake up 365 days a year around 4:30. 5 o'clock is a line for me. That's for mindfulness, sitting down with myself, saying thank you to God, speaking to my angels and my guides, setting the tone for the day, being there, just being here, just being, listening to the birds, watching the light come through, sitting in silence before the hustle and bustle of the day and the noise and the scooters and the traffic. And so I can be in a good place to go out and give that positive energy and love and work with my clients and teach my yoga and mindfulness and my meditation and give all those things to people and rehabilitate people, mind, mentally, physically, you know, nutritionally. Because if I'm no good to me, then I'm no good to no one, you know. And so it starts with me. If I'm not feeling good, how can I be good to anyone? How can I give positive vibes and help others if I don't even help myself, you know? So, listening to my gurus. Who are my gurus? My main go-tos is Abraham Hicks, Alan Watts, Ram Dass. These are my main people that are my daily listens, and Muji. But they're all for different times and different purposes. One is more relaxing, one's more kick your ass and go. You know, that's Abraham Hicks. Let's go. You know, more push. But they're just all about the laws of the universe. They're all saying the same thing, but in a different way. Yep. Daily habits. Little daily habits. And in between that, everything's meditation for me. Washing the plates, cooking, eating, training, the yoga. You don't have to sit there like this to be meditative. It's just about being there, enjoying what you're doing at that time.
And then you decrease the stress. There's no stress, there's no resistance. Less resistance.
Absolutely, less resistance. This is why I say yoga is life. And in my class, if you remember, I say releasing resistance and the need for control. What you practice on that yoga mat is an extension of how you're going to be outside. If you can release the resistance and just breathe here and listen to your body and breathe, you can easily do that outside more. Stopping, breathe. When things get strenuous and tight and tense and overwhelming and you get angry, stop, take a breath, relax, just breathe, switch off for a minute, come back again with a different mindset.
That's very powerful. It's so simple, but that's very powerful in the moment when you're feeling that tension.
It's the simplest things in the world that we forget, unfortunately, you know.
Yeah.
I had to learn that the hard way. I got the bull on my shoulder. They used to call me Toro Loco, the crazy bull. You know, I don't go around beating people up. I've always been a lover, not a fighter. But I learned to fight for self-defense. But it was craziness in other ways, going out and self-destruction. The drink, the alcohol, the drugs.
What do you think helped you the most to recover from the alcohol?
Mindfulness and good food. The gym, releasing that aggression in the gym, intensive workouts, high volume, smashing myself and deciding to achieve a goal. When I decide to achieve a goal, I want to do it. I don't want to go halfway, you know. If I say I'm going to do a competition, I'll announce it on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, like I used to, and then I put myself in the hot chair. Now I got to do it. If I'm going to do it, I got to do it to my best, and so that means no partying.
Yeah.
That means control. That means dedication, and it just helps me to be more focused, you know. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Mr. Douglas, thank you very much for coming on, man. It's a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor. God bless. I pray that I may have planted a couple of seeds, and you know, I've something there that someone can take away to utilize in their life to be better for themselves. The battle is here. You versus you.
Absolutely.